Last night, the Green Party leader, Annamie Paul, testified for a grand total of 3 minutes, but she narrowly avoided a leadership review. But the Green Party's federal council gave her an ultimatum: denounce her former senior advisor for his comments about some Green MPs or face a vote of no confidence. Paul's former advisor had called some of the Green MPs, there's only 3 of them, anti-Semitic and discriminatory after they tweeted out about the Israel-Palestinian crisis, one referring to Israel as an apartheid state. That controversy led to the 3rd Green MP, Jenica Atwin, to cross the floor and join the Liberals. She was on this show and on Question Period, and she said she blames Annamie Paul for the departure. Now, what will Annamie Paul do? Will she bend to the will of the Executive Council, the Federal Council, in which case the question is, will people question the strength of her leadership? Or will she try to reassert control over her own party? Let's find out, because we've just been joined by Green Party leader Annamie Paul, and I appreciate you joining us. And I know you just left that press conference, so thank you for being here. Let me start at this press conference where you were blasting your critics as craven, cynical, and sexist. Who exactly are you calling craven, sexist, and cynical?
Well, those were separate comments related to different people, and I said that the Liberal Party, in their stated objective to sow division in our party and to create chaos, their stated policy that they were being very cynical about politics and the people who participate in politics. They were being very craven in that, because that is very much a winner-takes-all, win-at-all-cost kind of strategy. And what I said is that, unfortunately, some of the events that happened within a very small group of our federal councillors were absolutely, unfortunately, sexist. I want to stress that those were the minority of our councillors.
Let me get to some of these comments, but you avoided basically a leadership review last night narrowly, as we understand. And we understand that federal council wants you to denounce your former senior advisor for his words about some of the MPs. We just listened to your press conference. You did not say that you reject him or renounce him. They said if you don't do it, you will face a confidence vote. Why did you not denounce him?
Well, first, as I said, this decision is less than 24 hours old. And more importantly, as I said in the press conference, that I'm looking to have the same scope to do my work without it being directed in a way that it has never been directed before for any other leader of our party. I am not looking, and I don't think that it's appropriate for there to be any sorts of ultimatums. I haven't decided yet whether this is one of them. And given that Mr. Zasman is no longer with my office, I don't see the need to do that. What I do have the need to do, and I have said many times,
were his comments appropriate? Yeah. Let's just get there. I'm just trying to figure this out. You know what he said. He called some of the MPs anti-Semitic, discriminatory. Jenica Atwin, who's left your party, told me that she did not feel supported by you. Do you reject his comments?
First, I reject Jenica Atwin's premise. As I've said, we have never had a conversation on Israel. We only had one conversation about this. And so I have said that I reject the premise that her decision, given that it began weeks before any of this conflict did, are founded in this. I think that that is something that suits this moment, given the unfortunate blowback that she's receiving about her decision. I am accountable for my words. Mr. Zasman is no longer with my office, and I am not a person, whether it's him or anyone else, that after that has been done and resolved is going to enter into that. I will say for myself that I do not believe, while I disagree with many of the opinions of our MPs on this particular foreign policy, I support them. I do not believe that they are anti-Semitic, and I would not work with anyone that I consider to be anti-Semitic.
Okay, but again, I got to ask you, because someone left, whatever you think, Ms. Atwin told us that that this is a big reason why she just bolted your party. That's a third of your caucus.
Well,
Again,
Evan, I would just say,
the federal. I'm just saying the federal council has said.
I would say
What are your thoughts on your senior advisor's words calling out MPs as anti-Semites and discriminatory? Will you not condemn his words or just let them stand?
As I said in my press conference, it is very important to me to speak to others before having this conversation. This decision is less than 24 hours old. I have said very clearly what my view is. I have said very clearly what my support for MPs. And Evan, again, I find it very troubling that that Ms. Atwin's words subsequent to her press conference when she announced she was leading has become the account of the record. She said very clearly on the day that she left that I was not responsible for the decision. I wasn't even a factor in the decision, and that this was personal to her, and she hoped that we would remain friends in the future. That is verbatim what she said. She absolutely did an about-face the next day. So I think the question to ask is, what happened between Thursday and Friday?
Well, listen, I know that she said it was a factor, and then she said it was a big factor to me. So, but let me just get at, you were asked about this in the press conference. The media has been leaked what are federal counsel allegations against you. I can read them. You have acted with an autocratic attitude of hostility, superiority, and rejection. You failed to assume your duty to be an active, contributing, respectful, attendant member of the Federal Council. You failed to develop a collaborative working relationship. You failed to engage in respectful discussions. You failed to use dialogue and compromise. You've attended few council meetings. You've displayed anger, long, repetitious, aggressive monologues. You've failed to recognize any of the ideas except your own. You've acted in a manner not in compliance with the leader's role. This is a lot here. You have I'm reading here, a personal reputation for dishonesty, which gives opposition parties the ability to compromise her election. Like, what do you make of these allegations against you?
Well, as I said, I said today what I made out of those allegations. They're racist and sexist, and of course it's, and again, I'm not aware of this document being sent out there. I do not talk about the contents of confidential documents. All I can say is that what you're describing makes me sound like an angry black woman, and that's a trope that we've heard a lot of times before. This document, Evan, I'm so grateful to the majority of councillors who rejected it, who disavowed themselves from it. And so all I can say is that there's a small group of councillors who are on their way out, who have some misguided opinions. And it really reinforces to me, Evan, why this work is so important and why we, within our institutions, need to make sure that we're dismantling systemic racism whenever we can.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm understanding this, Ms. Paul. You're saying there's a small group that's on their way out in the party because people are going to ask you if you're the leader of the party. Are you going to push back against the federal council who you believe are, some of them are trying to run you out? Are you going to push back on them? And are you trying to, you said that they're on their way out. Who's on their way out?
When I say that, Evan, there's natural turnover in our party. We are hosting council elections. They happen every year. And the bulk of our councillors in this particular year, for different reasons, those positions are up for re-election. And so we will have a renewed a renewed council very soon. I'm very excited to do that. In the meantime, I hope that that the councillors, for as long as they're there, will choose to work collaboratively with me. And as I said, the majority are very committed to the same agenda of diversity as I am, and we're doing great work together.
Just a couple things. The Quebec wing of the party wants you to resign. They told us last night. The Atlantic representatives on the federal council want you to resign. What's your response to them?
My response is that the council had a robust discussion about that last night, as I didn't have much time to speak, but I had an opportunity to. My response is that I have a very recent and robust mandate from our membership, and we are all accountable, first and foremost, to our members. And my response is what I said in the press conference, which is that there are people who will take advantage of this moment in order to question the leadership of someone like me because of the higher standard that we are always held to in these situations. And I've been quite calm about these things. You know, I always seek to work collaboratively, but there is a moment for pushback. And as I said, many eyes are on me. Many eyes are waiting to see whether someone like me can succeed in a role like this, where no one has before.
Huh. Okay, so you believe that race and religion are a motive here?
I believe that, again, without getting into the specifics of the allegations, I believe, and as I said, many councillors and our MPs believed that the document that they were presented with, in their own words, was inflammatory and offensive. Inflammatory and offensive, and a breach of our code of ethics. So I want people to remember, this is a small group. When people had the choice, they disavowed it. I thank them for that, and it really tells me that we're heading on the right track as a Green Party.
Is Elizabeth May undermining your leadership? She did not come out and directly support you.
Well, I can't speak for Elizabeth. All I can say is that Elizabeth was one of the main reasons that I joined the Green Party of Canada. One of the main reasons that I decided to run, so I might have the opportunity to work closely with her. She is the reason that many of us are here in the party. We all owe her a great debt. She's a great parliamentarian. She's one of the, she's one for the books, absolutely, an iconic parliamentarian.
Finally, just one last question about your remarks about Justin Trudeau. You said he's targeting strong women. You said it's craven what the Liberals are doing. But why is that? MPs walk across the floor all the time. This is an age-old tradition in Parliament. You have cast it in the light of religion and race and craven politics, and yet this has happened countless times throughout history. Why do you think race, gender, and religion play a role in the fact that one of the MPs left, a female MP left, to join his party and blamed you for it? So why is it Justin Trudeau's fault?
I mean, I think you're great, but you have conflated a lot of things there that were said about different people at different times. What I said, and I will say it here again, is that Justin Trudeau is no ally and Justin Trudeau is no feminist. He knew what he did, and he was involved with this from the beginning, was going to undermine my leadership. It was one of the purposes, and I encourage people to read the articles that set out the entire plan. And so if you're seeking to support women in politics, if you were seeking to at least leave space for someone like me in politics in a role like this, a historic role, then you certainly wouldn't be headed out to undermine their leadership. Now, I think that the main reason that he did this is that he wants to win a majority, and certainly a weakened Green Party, particularly when we're surging. It is politics. It is politics. But you know what?
This is politics.
Being an ally,
of course he wants to win a majority, don't you?
Of course, but not at any cost. Not, you know what, Evan?
He's the Liberal,
you know what,
you're
Evan?
the Greens.
You know what, Evan? Not at any cost. My answer to you is not at any price, not at any cost. Not if it's going to create a culture where good people are thrown out of politics. Not if it's going to create a culture where good, strong women, when we still have women severely underrepresented in Canadian politics. I am the only woman to lead a major federal party. Not at that cost. Right. If you're going to be an ally and a feminist, then it means showing up at the times when even your interests are at play.
Okay,
and Justin Trudeau has not done that.
I know this is delicate stuff, but like in the Westminster tradition, parties run against each other. There's no exceptions. He's trying to win as a Liberal. He's fighting for his views. He took one of your MPs. You're a Green. There's Conservatives. There's an NDP. You know it. I'm just trying to understand. You're saying that he should play politics different because of your gender, or I'm just trying to understand. Like, what's the parliamentary system if you take exceptions like that?
Evan, this system was set up by certain people to prefer certain people, and the idea that this is a level playing field where we all have the same shot is bunk. And he knows it. I know this because I set up the first institute in Canada to understand this phenomenon and to advance knowledge in it. So I tell you this as an expert in this field. So you can't set up all the rules. You can't create the playing field and then say, well, why aren't we all going to just play on this equally? If he knows that if he is going to walk walk the walk instead of just talking the talk, that he should not be doing this. And there is that question that we need to ask. Why have so many exceptional, strong women who have stepped up to serve and serve the public been pushed out of politics during his 6 years in office? That is a question that he should answer.
Well, Annamie Paul, I'm going to leave it there, but I will tell you, Jody Wilson-Raybould, his former Justice Minister, is on our show later, and I will ask her that very question, which you're posing.
Please do.
First of all, I really appreciate you joining us. We will have Jody Wilson-Raybould on. I very much am hearing what you're saying, and I appreciate you taking the time always on. I know these are difficult times in politics. Ms. Paul, I appreciate your transparency on all this. Thank you so much.